guys, so today's going to be a bit of a different video, as in it's going to be a lot longer probably, and it's going to focus on FireAlpaca as a whole program. So if you've used digital art programs before and you're really into it and whatever, you might not want to watch this because you probably already know everything and it'll just be repetitive and boring. But if you've never used a digital art program and you want to learn more about it before you start, then this is the video for you. And I'm going to cover the very basics. So let's get started really fast. And by the way, if I've made a video on something, then I'm probably going to skip over it and leave an annotation for the video itself, just because I don't want to repeat things. It's going to get way too repetitive and really boring. Okay, so very basics. Let's start with the tabs up in the front. Up here, wait, let me check. Okay, good. So right here we got the File tab, and I'm not sure if my screen recording thing is going to record it because in the past it doesn't really record the tabs, but it should be the same no matter what. So the File tab, there's New and New via Clipboard. Now the difference between these is if you do a new file, so I'm going to do the shortcut for that, it gives you this little box right here, and from here you can choose the dimensions in either pixels, centimeters, or inches. I go for pixels just because it's what most websites use to measure things. And let's see what else. Reverse width and height, that's pretty easy. Paper size, so all these paper sizes right here. Wow, that's pretty cool. Resolution, I don't really know much about this except that it's for printing, so you can look that up on your own. Sorry, I don't know everything. Background color, you can either choose transparent or color. I'll go more into that later. And history is pretty much all of the dimensions that you've used in the past. So no matter how many times you've used a certain dimension for a canvas, it's going to save right here. That's pretty handy, you know, if you use a certain dimension a lot. And then up here, you're going to see comic. So this is pretty much if you're going to do a comic page. I might make a separate video for that just because there's a lot to get into. But you can look through this by yourself. There's a bunch of different like comic styles that you can go through. A lot of Japanese style comics or professional, all that good stuff. I'll go through that in another video, but for now I'm just going to do standard, and I'm going to do this size just for fun. And the difference between that and the new via clipboard is that clipboard just means if you have something copied. So I'm going to go to this picture right here. I'm going to select this, and I'm going to click copy, and then I'm going to do new via clipboard. And see, the new file is just what I copied, so that's the difference. Okay, so open right here just means you're going to open a file from your computer. That's pretty simple. Open recent file, so anything that you've used or anything that you worked on recently should be right here. So you don't have to go into the open and like go through your computer every single time. Save and save as. So the difference between save and save as is save is just like a really quick thing. If you've already saved something, this will not pop up. But since I haven't saved this, I'm going to do just a squiggle right here, and then I'm going to save it. Boop. And then I'm going to save it as like whatever. It doesn't really matter right there. So if I do something else and then I do save again, the pop-up doesn't show up. It's something really quick. But if you do save as, it's going to save like another file. You know, it's like the, what is it? I'm not sure. Like it makes it a separate file from this. So even if I named it the same thing, it's going to be a whole different file. And if you save things, you can choose where you save it. You can choose the tags, which I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this is a thing for my Mac. I think this is just a Mac thing. So, so you can do the name and then PNG. That's the best type of file you can save your art as. But if you're going to save a piece of work and you're still going to work on it later, I recommend you keep it at FireAlpaca, because if you save something as a PNG, then all of the layers are going to merge into one and you're not going to be able to unmerge them. So save it as this, FireAlpaca, if you're not done with the picture. If you're done, save it as a PNG. I do not recommend JPEG. Bitmap, I'm not really sure how that works. I'm sorry. And then PSD, I'm not sure. I think you need to have some kind of Photoshop installed in your computer to have this. Maybe not. I don't know. Rasterize, I'm not really sure if I'm pronouncing that right, and I'm not sure what it really is. I've kind of like messed with it. It kind of just converts your picture into whatever you set it as. So you can do a grayscale, and then I'll do like a whole new, let me see. So this is the original, and I made a whole new file of it in gray colors. and you can't really undo it because it's a new file. I don't use it ever, so not sure what you would use it for. Let's see. Print is obvious. If you have a printer, you can print it. Export layers right here, it's not highlighted right now because I can't use it, but this is for animation, which I will get to in a completely different video because that's a lot to talk about. Environment settings, talked about that before, and close is closing just a picture. It's not closing the entire program, it's just the picture. If you want to close FireAlpaca, you're going to have to go to Quit FireAlpaca right here. The next tab is the Edit tab. Let's see, I've talked about most of this, copy and paste. Rotate left, right. Yeah, I've talked about most of this. The difference between rotating left and right compared to doing it right here, like in the navigation, is that editing, it rotates like the entire picture, and it's something that kind of sticks, you know, like you can't, even if you unrotate it like this and you saved it, it would still turn like that. Flip horizontally means you do just that. Image size and canvas size, I'm pretty sure I already talked about that, so we'll skip that. Start dictation, I'm pretty sure that if you're using the text tool up here, which I'm going to talk about later, if you press start dictation, it means that I think you can talk into the microphone of your computer and it'll type it out. That's what I'm thinking, I'm not sure. I haven't tried it because some pop-ups came up saying that my Mac will send my information to Apple or something, and I'm not really down for that, so I haven't tried it, but you can always try it. And then emoji and symbols. So this is when you're using the text tool. Let me see. Let me just change this because it's a very noisy. So I'm going to just block that out instead of, I could have just whatever. Okay, so I'm going to use the text tool, and then let's say you want to put an emoji in it for whatever reason. You would just go to emoji and symbols, and this little pop-up thing will show up, and there's emojis. Where did it go? So all of these emojis, it's emojis that are on like your phone, I guess. I don't know. I have a Mac, so these things might be different for you. I don't know if you have a Windows, I don't know if this would show up, but if you have a Mac, this should show up. And it also has symbols that most computers would have. So scissors right there, and then you click OK, you see it's right there. That's pretty cool. We're done with the edit. Layers, I have an entire video about this, so I'm going to skip that. Filters, so levels and hues, I've talked about that. That usually has to do with colors, so let me get this out. Levels is this thing will pop up, and then I don't know how to explain it really. You just kind of have to work with it yourself. There's these arrows that you can drag along, and then the colors change. Usually it's brightness and stuff. The brightness will change, not really the colors. For colors, it would go to hue, and then you can change the hue right here. There you go. You can practice through that. Saturation, the highest, it's the colors become brighter, and some pictures it might look good, some pictures you might not. So, whoa, my voice is just cracking. So I'm going to put that back to 100, and then brightness, so that's the darkest, that's the brightest. Okay, how do you pronounce this? Is it Gaussian, Gaussian blur? Okay, so Gaussian blur just means it makes everything blurry, so whatever layer you're on will make it will become blurred, so the value is automatically 1, but you can increase that. Doesn't look very good, but I'm pretty sure you can do a glowy effect using this. Mosaic, pretty sure that's how you pronounce it, is, I had it to the max, but the minimum I'm pretty sure is it 1, I guess? No, it's 2, so you can't really see it right now, but if I increase the number, it becomes more and more pixelated, and the maximum is 250. So it's just those big old pixels right there. I don't know why you would do that. Cloud and sand. So I never ever used these. When I was first beginning art, I would use them a lot, but they don't look very good, so I don't use them anymore, but I'll show you what they are just for fun. So these colors right here, the two colors, are what going to be used in the filter. So if I do cloud, that's what it looks like. If I had a different color, so let me do that again, turn out like that. Sand, pretty much the same thing. Select, I made a whole video on this, so I'll leave an annotation for that. Snap, made a whole video on this. Color, here we go, color. I haven't talked about this yet. So if you click the transparent, it'll automatically select the transparent box, which I've talked about in another video. Alright, for swap, it means that these two colors over here will change, I guess. They'll switch places. So just keep your eyes over here, and I click swap, and there you go. That's pretty much all there is to it. you can do the same thing just by clicking on it, see? So, whichever one's easiest for you, I guess. Color bar, that's what I have right now, but I'm pretty sure when you first download FireAlpaca, it's going to be the wheel, which is this thing right here. The wheel is good for picking color schemes. So you can find out, you know, adjacent colors and complementary colors, that kind of stuff for color schemes. I remember what I learned in art class. So that's pretty good for color scheming. And then lock palette. To be honest, I'm not sure what this does because I tried it and it feels like nothing happened. So if you guys can figure it out, that'd be cool. View is zooming in, zooming out, fitting to window size. Honestly, all of these things right here, you can do in the navigation window. So the little thing right here, the magnifying glass with a plus, you zoom in. You can't really see with this, so zoom in and then zoom out with the minus. The one without any sign in it is when it fits into the window, so it's fitting, like, you see how it's like fitting perfectly in here. This is for rotating, but it doesn't actually save it like that. So you can rotate it for like drawing something that needs to be at a certain angle, and then when you're done, you could click the middle one right here, and it just pops it right back to how it's supposed to be. And then right here is flipping the canvas, but again, it's not like saved like that. You can see when a canvas is flipped, it's kind of highlighted, and when you want it to get it back to normal, just click that button again. The grid. So the pixel grid, I'm not exactly sure what it is. I tried working with it and I couldn't really figure out what it was. But for the actual grid, let me go back. Where was it? Here it is. I use this a lot for, it's like working on graphing paper. It's not the snaps. Don't confuse it with the snaps. The snaps is when no matter, oh, that is not the brush to use for this. That's when you do like straight lines, but this is not that. Graphing is just graphing paper, so you can use it for like size, you know, certain amount of squares. I do this when drawing eyes all the time so that the eyes are the same size and, yep, and the same width, all that good stuff. Brush size, that is this thing, I think, right? Let me see. Oh, brush size, I'm sorry. Brush size is when, I don't know if you can see it when I'm recording. You see that circle that's like showing up when I'm changing the size? It shows me what the size of the brush is going to be if I do it. Right now it's not that size because I'm not putting full pressure, but if I did, there we go. But if you don't like that circle, which I'm not sure why you wouldn't, you can go to brush size and then that that circle won't show up. So yeah. I'm not exactly sure why anybody would want to draw like this. It's just, it still shows up when you're changing the size, but I don't know. I just really like having the circle there. So put that back on. There it is. Oh, thank God. Comic guidelines. So this is, again, if you're doing like a comic page, I'm not going to get into it because I'm going to do a whole new video for it. But, you know, finish line, the book binding, safe line, bleeding, spine width, all that good stuff. So you just click OK, and all of these guidelines will show up. Again, I'm going to get rid of those because I'll talk about that in a different video. There's way too much to go over. Transparent background. I recommend you have this on. So what it means is that, let me delete this. Transparent background means that if there's nothing on a layer, it's going to show up like this, kind of. It means that if you save this, so let me draw a heart, just for fun. That's a beautiful heart. If I save this picture as a PNG, that means that the background, whatever is in the checkerboard pattern, is going to be transparent, okay? So you might have seen pictures of or art that's transparent and you're like, how do I do that? It's by this. And the only way to get this, by the way, is when you save it, you have to save it as a PNG. If you do a JPEG, it's going to make the whole background white and it's not going to be transparent at all. And if you have that off, that means anything that's transparent is going to be white. And right here in the layers, you can see it's still checkered, so you can see what's going to be transparent, but here it's all white, and honestly, it's super confusing. So I recommend that you have it as a checkerboard. Onion skin mode, not going to go over that because that has to do with animation, and I'm going to do a whole different video on that. There's a lot to go through. All of these is for animation. And then enter full screen is just that. So the tool tab, I'm going to go over later. I'm going to go over all the tools. The window tab shows all of the windows. So all of the windows is everything that I have onto the sides. I have most of the windows that it provides except brush preview and reference. So brush preview, I'm going to go over that since I don't have it. It shows you what the brush is going to turn out. As I click different brushes, it's showing me how it's going to look. I guess it's helpful if you forgot what a brush looks like, but I've been using this for so long, I already know what all of them look like without having to like test it out even. I want to go over color, just means anything that has a check mark means it's showing. So color is right here. If I unclick it, it's gone, but I can just put it back. Palette right here, these are colors that if you want to save, so colors that you use very often, you can save it here. So this blue color I use for all of my sketches. I use it, this is the color I use for every single sketch. For line art, I go with red over it. I don't know why. I always use red, so I have that saved. I have some of my favorite colors saved so that if I want to draw myself in a dress or something that's in that color, I got those. I don't have to like go looking for it every time. I have the skin color I use for myself, and I have the skin color I use for an original character that I draw a lot. Here it is. See, to make a new color for your palette, just let's make a color. So I'm going to make like a nice green color. Let me get that out. So let's say I want to save this color. I would just click this button right here. It looks like a new layer button, but it's for a new palette brush. So I'm going to click it. And then you can name it. So I'm just going to name it green. And you can also change the stuff right here, the numbers that are right here. You see that? Over here, same thing. And so you can use this copy and pasting. This is a color code. So if you go to a color code website and you find a color that you really like and you want to save it, copy and paste the code right here. And if you want to delete a color, just make sure you're clicked on it and then press the trash can button. And then you press OK and it's gone. So next up is brush control. So that's right here. This pretty much just means you work with the size of the brush, and this right here is opacity. Depending on the brush that you use, there will be different brush control settings. So these are the settings for the pencil and for most other things. Cloudy, you see scatter strength, particle size. It depends on the type of brush it is, I'm pretty sure. Brush, so that's this window right here. Let me pull that out. Pull it out. There we go. I've made a whole video on brushes, so it's just pretty much the window that has all of your brushes. Go back in there. Also, by the way, if you take out a window, everything will kind of just like take its place. And if you want to put it back, you just drag it and it should move. Sometimes it's a little difficult, so yeah, good luck with that. It's pretty much really easy to just arrange things. And you can arrange things on different sides. So I'm going to put layer here, and let's say I wanted to put my palette over here. See, I can do that. Everything is just customizable. Also, before I forget, if you go to initialize up here, it's the first thing. It's going to change it as, let's see, let me put that. I don't know why it changes the whole thing, but it changes the whole setup to how it is when you first download FireAlpaca. So if you customized anything, it's just going to go back to how it was. So sometimes if you can't get a window back in, so let's say it's just not letting me like right now, and well, right now it's letting me, but let's say it's not, I can just click initialize and it'll put everything back in how it was downloaded, and then you can just customize it from there. Also, if you want to make a window bigger, you see how if I hover over the border, it turns into that little black arrow thing. You just click on it and drag it. So there we go. Let's see. Show and hide just means it's going to hide all of your windows. So it's just this big blank canvas. I never use it, but maybe if it bothers you, you can just use that. Let's see. Brush control, brush, navigator. I kind of talked about that because I talked about everything that you can use up here. Also, if you hover over, this little bar will show up. This is the rotating degree. So you can rotate your canvas using these little arrows, but like it has set degrees. It's like every 30 degrees, I think. So if you want to do it manually, you can just drag this, and there's like really weird degrees you can get into. Let's put that back. That's pretty much everything. Or if you're zoomed in really close, so let's say I'm zoomed in here and I wanted to go to another part of the canvas, you might not be able to see it because it's really small, but there is a red box. The red box is what I am viewing right here. So if I was to drag that red box anywhere, that's what I'm viewing. So I'm trying not to go too fast because it might make you sick, but yeah, that's how I navigate through my canvases. So see, it's bigger because I'm zoomed out, so I can just drag that anywhere. I made a whole video on layers, so you can go watch that. Status bar is pretty much what's down here. I can't zoom over it because it didn't disappear. So this is the status bar. It tells you like the size of the canvas, the size in centimeters, the DPI, the zoom percentage, so I'm 66% zoomed in. And then some tools that you're on, it will give you like tips. So here says if you want to draw a straight line, you can hold down the shift button. The reference window is a very new thing. It's very recently added and I really like it. So referencing when drawing is very important. It helps you with improving. So let's say I want to draw a character and I want to draw him in a certain outfit. I go to a fashion website and I see an outfit I like. What you would have to do is save the picture as its own file, and then with the reference window you click it, and then right here click that first button and it's going to take you to all of your files on your computer. I don't have a reference thing right now, but let's say I was going to draw fan art of this little guy right here. I love this picture. So here's a reference, and then I would do a new layer. Let me hide this. This reference layer will stay on top. So if I wanted to draw him, it wouldn't disappear and I can like stare at him while I'm drawing him. So see, look, wow, amazing. That's really cool. And if I want to draw his hair, I can see right there. So this is really cool. So what you would have to do back in the olden times is you would have to open the picture, and then let's find him. Where is he? He's right here. You would have to open the picture and then you would have to go back and forth. So when you're drawing, I'm going to draw his head right here, and I'll have to go back and then go like this and then go back. It's really a hassle. But with the reference window, it stays on top and you can delete it, or just pretty much put it away. You can zoom in, zoom out. If you wanted to reference a color, let's say he was in color and I wanted to color his hair, I would just do that. And then I can use it for this picture. That's amazing. You can actually have this in the side. Let me see. So I can open that here. Let's do a different picture. Let's do this guy. He's my favorite. Okay, let me see. If I wanted to move it, let's see. How do I move this? I'm pretty sure there's a way to move this, but I'm not exactly sure how. If you don't want to have it on top of your picture because it's blocking you, you can just have it on the side, and then you can just draw your little guy right here. Wow, look at him. The next tab is the help tab, but I'm going to skip over it because every single program has this. If you have a problem, you just type it in. Let me see. Crop. So it'll show you how to crop it. See, look at how handy that is. It shows you like where to find it. So if you guys have a question on how to use this and you want to ask me, you can first type it in here. Now that I've talked about all of the tabs, it's time to talk about the tools. Again, I'm going to skip any that I've already talked about because there's just no point in repeating everything. So brush tool, already talked about, but is pretty much what you use to draw. A couple of other options for the brush tool is the correction. So if your lines are turning out not smooth, work with your correction. Right now, 8 is the best one for me. See, there's like no janky parts right there. I mean, there's a little bit of jankage, but like, pretty good so far. But this pretty much has to do with how smooth your brush turns. So 0, let's see, 0, there's like no correction at all. So it's just the worst it can be. You would have to go here. And then 19 is supposed to be the best, but like I said, after updating my computer, it's not the best. So I go for 8. Try a lot of these out. Usually the higher the number is the best outcome, usually, but it's also a bit slower. Like, you might not see it right now, but it's kind of laggy, but that's just kind of the price you have to pay for really smooth line art. And then right here, soft edge has to do with giving your brush a soft edge. I'm not sure if that's available for all brushes, but I'm pretty sure it might just be for the eraser. So let me go to the eraser, and there we go. So the eraser also, I'm pretty sure the correction is always going to be the same as the brush, but the eraser has a soft edge. If I can, you know what, I'm going to change this over here. So soft edge. So if I was going to erase something, let's see. The eraser tool is usually like super harsh like this, but a soft edge means the edges are soft, just like that. This is, I don't know what this tool is called. Let's see. I'm on the dot brush. So by the way, if you're selected on a brush, you don't know what it is, you can go to the toolbar, or if you want to just click from here, it'll click right there. So yeah. So the dot brush is what most people use for pixel art, which I can do a video on eventually too. So right here is the size of the pixel. So it can be, the biggest is 3 and the smallest is 1. So pixel art, see, that's pretty big because it's 3, but the smallest one would look like this. So yeah, if you like pixel art, you can do that. This is the moving cursor. So if you have a picture, let me draw something very nice for you. If I wanted to move it around the canvas, I would go to the moving thing right here, and I could just move that wherever I wanted to. If I wanted to select like a certain part right here, again, you would just select it and then use this and you move it around, whatever's in the selection tool. It's for actually moving things around. If you select something, you're gonna see this little crossbow kind of thing. That's just moving the selected area. It's not moving the actual picture or what it's selecting. An option for the move tool is to select a layer at the clicked point. So you see these two shapes are on different layers. This is a blue shape and this is the pink shape. So if I was on the blue layer and I wanted to move the pink one, usually what you would do if this was not clicked is you would have to go to that layer and move it around. But since it's clicked, it means that no matter what layer you're on, if you hover over and click on it, so I'm on the pink one, I'm going to hover over the blue and click it, it changes to the layer that it's on automatically and it moves it. So I'm on the blue layer right now, but I want to move the pink, click it, and it changes layers and moves whatever you clicked around. So it doesn't matter how many things are on the picture. If you click on it and you move it around, see, notice I clicked on nothing, so it changed to the layer that has nothing, and I can't move it around because it's locked, but that's pretty handy. So this is the fill in shape kind of button. This is in every single art program. So right here you can choose the shape is rectangle, ellipse, or polygon. So rectangle says all that stuff. You can even do a round corner right here. You see that? Click it, and then the corners are round. It's pretty cool. And then polygon, that's when you make it yourself. You would just click it and you do a point, and then you don't have to drag it. It just automatically follows your arrow. Click it again. Click, click, whatever shape you want. So I'm going to do that. It's a crown. When you get to the end, you just double click. And that's not how I thought it would look, but that's just how it came out. Oh, I think it's because I did round corner. So let me unclick that and try again. There you go. A few other things that you have besides the round corner is select from center. So that's when you make the shape from the center. Let me see. I'm going to go with pink. So normally, if I was going to make a rectangle, notice how it starts from the point that I clicked on. But if I said select from center, the point I clicked on is going to be the center of the shape. And then constrain proportions. So that means it's going to be like a perfect thing. You see the circle? I can't make it into an oval like with this. It's an oval, it's just whatever I want, but constrained means I can't do that. And opacity is just the opacity. So let me unclick that because I don't like that. So this is full opacity, but let's do 39%. See that? Oh, and then you can just layer that on like that. Pretty cool. Paint bucket. You've seen this everywhere. I talked about it a little bit when it comes to filling in certain things. So let's get this nice picture. It's not really colored in, so let me just hide this. He looks a lot better uncolored, huh? What a shame. So let's say I'm going to color his skin. I have his skin saved because I draw this guy so often. I'm going to paint bucket his face. So you see how I do it, and then most of the spaces are filled in. There's like certain spaces that the paint bucket can't get to. You would just have to use the brush tool and go over that. But usually when you first download FireAlpaca, it's not going to look like this because by default, the expand is 0. You see this right here, the expand button? It's usually going to be 0. So when you use it, you can kind of see it. You can't see it that well, but there's kind of like a lot of spaces, especially around the line art, that have not been filled in. So if your art looks like this, let me do a darker color so you can see it there. You can see it a lot like that. If your art looks like this, go to the expand option up here and set it to 1. 1 is pretty much the best one. See, there's no outline. But you can set it to something bigger, so 2. That doesn't look too bad. You can't really see it, but it's kind of bleeding into the mouth area, which it was not doing at 1. See, it's pretty clean. And if you do it at 3, it's going to bleed a lot. Expanding just means it expands a few pixels out. So this is 3 pixels out. So yeah, not very good. So I recommend you set it to 1. Reference is canvas and layer. So I recommend you keep it at canvas because canvas just means, you see how when I'm using the paint bucket tool, it's on a new layer. There's nothing on this layer. But even though there's nothing on the layer and I click the paint bucket tool, it acts as if the line art is on that layer. It keeps other layers in mind. But if it had the reference to layer, it acts as if all the other layers don't exist. Like it just ignores everything else and it will fill in whatever is on this layer. So there's nothing on the layer, so if I click the button, it fills in everything because there's nothing on the layer. Alright, next up is the gradient tool. So I use this quite often when coloring hair. Let's go to a whole new thing. I'm not going to save that because I messed it up. So gradient, when you first open it, the default type would be foreground, background, which means that the 2 colors here is what's going to be the gradient. So if I was going to do orange to yellow, that's a pretty good one. I did it across this way. You can see orange is right here, yellow is right here. I'm pretty sure if you switched it, it would turn out like that. But I don't use this very often, but it does make things easier. What I usually use is the foreground type. So the only color that's going to show is the color that you're selected on. So there we go. See that? If I unclick this, that's transparent. So yep, that's what I usually click for. Yeah, that's what I usually use for coloring hair. Shape, there's 2 shapes, linear and circular. So linear is what I just showed you, which is just the line, but circular is a circle. So there you go. The next 4 or 5 brushes have to do with the selection thing. So I have a whole video on selection tools. I'll have the annotation for that. But one thing I will say right now is the most common question I've gotten is how to deselect something. So if you select something and you don't know how to get rid of the selection, you can go up to the tab, the select tab, and then click deselect, and it unselects it for you. I memorized a shortcut, so it's Control D or Command D, so I just do that, and then there it is. Another thing I wanted to talk about with the selection tool, by the way, I didn't mention this in the selection video because I didn't know it existed. But if you use the magic wand tool and you click something, I selected his hair, and if I wanted to select the background, it would switch from the hair to the background. You can only select things one at a time. But I figured out that you can select multiple things by holding down the shift button. So let's say I wanted to color his hair, and I grab that, but he still has a lot of hair that hasn't been grabbed. So I'm holding down the shift key and I'm clicking it and it's being added on to what's being selected. That's really handy. So the next one is the text tool. This is somewhat new and a lot of art programs do not have this. So it's super good. I'm pretty sure Paint Tool Side doesn't have it and it really bugged me. Maybe they changed it, I'm not sure. Maybe it's only in the paid version, whatever. But text tool is really good for making comics. If you don't want to use your own handwriting, just click that and then click on the canvas and type whatever. So I'm just going to type this because, you know, that's just how it is. Here you have the font. So I have a lot of fonts. It's all the fonts that come with your computer, but you can download other fonts from like font websites. You can change the size. The cool thing about this is you can actually change it by 0.5. You see that right there? 12.5, 13, 13.5. That's pretty cool. And you could do it, this is from points or something, but you can do it for pixels too. It's 14 pixels big. This thing, the anti something, again, let me unclick it. And it's just a bit more sharper and not as smooth. You can find this option for pretty much every tool. Text spacing is not available for this font because it's like a something that I downloaded online. It's not highlighted, so I can't change it, but it's supposed to be the space between the letters. For line spacing is when you have more than one line, so I'm just gonna do that. You know what? I'm just gonna put all my effort into it. Line spacing is the spacing between the lines, so I can increase that a lot, and then there it goes. Goes all like that. I can decrease it to negative numbers, and that doesn't look too bad. Let's go more. See, it's overlapping each other because there's like a negative space between them. Left align, center text, right align. That's pretty much like everything that you've seen in whatever programs it's for texting. Bold, some fonts like mine, this is a font I made with my handwriting. It's not even my handwriting honestly, but some fonts will let you bold, some won't. Italicize, my font won't let, oh, I guess I did do italicize. Strike through is supposed to be when the strike goes through. You've seen that in vertical. means that. Look at that. How cool is that? You can do like a vertical text. Let me click that. Oh wait, sorry. If you like unclick from it and you want to edit it, you can just click it from the canvas. You have to double click it. So double click it and this will pop up, or you can double click the layer. Whenever you use the texting tool, it always goes on a new layer and it's going to be named whatever you texted onto it. And the thing is, when you have everything ready and you want to merge everything to one layer, it doesn't let you merge. See the merging thing right here? The merging button is not highlighted, so you can't merge. So what you have to do is you can click any selection tool. You can select it like this and then copy and paste and then delete the text layer, and then you can move that around and you can merge that to anything. But something that I learned recently is you don't even have to select the text. All you have to do is select even just a single pixel, that's like a couple pixels, do copy, paste, and it's the whole text. It's really weird. I don't know why that works like that. Even though I didn't select the text, it copied whatever was on the layer, but that's fine. Also, when you're doing the text tool, let me delete that. To change the color, you go to text color, and this will show up, and you know, all that good stuff. You can do, this is the circle thing, the wheel, but you can do the bars. Let's see, like that. See that? You can do these preset colors that are super boring. Here's the spectrum, and then here's crayons. I don't know why, but it's colored pencils, but you can use that. Okay, this right here, what is this? This is the object thing. So to be completely honest, I never used this, so I don't know what it does. I probably should have looked it up. The next tool right here is called, oh, it's the panel divide. So this is not used for anything besides comics. So let's see, I'm going to open a new file and it's going to be a comic page. And this comic page has like everything already, all of the panels set out for you. If you use dividing thing, the panel divide, and you draw a line straight through it, nothing happens. So, what is this? Wait, is it because, there you go, wow. You have to be on the layer of the panels, see? And then you just drag it across, and it divides the panels as such. Let me do my own panel right here. Yeah, so you have to be on a comic page, and yeah, I don't use this because I don't make comics, and honestly, it's like really weird and confusing. I don't know how to make my own panels yet. But here you can change how big the size is, like the space between it. See how it's much bigger there? I can do much smaller. Very nice. Millimeters or pixels. Leading, right? That's leading. What does that mean? Not really sure what that means. This is the EyeDropper tool. This helps you with colors. So let's say I open this picture right here. And I was going to draw these guys again, and I wanted to get his exact skin color that I used for this picture. I would just use the EyeDropper tool and click it, and then up here the color shows up, and I can do more than one color. So I'm going to click this, switch to the white, and then click his hair. So I have his hair and his skin ready for me to go. So if I was drawing him right here, I could just use those colors. This is the hand tool. This pretty much does what this does. You see how if I go up here to the navigator and I choose rectangle and I can move this around to see what I'm looking at on the canvas, the hand tool does the same thing. So I can just move that. See that? I'm just moving it around. And then this is moving around with it. These two buttons up here are the undo and redo button. So if I draw something and I make a mistake, let's say that's a mistake, I would just go up here, click that button, the undo, and it undoes whatever action that you did. And you can click that as many times as you want, but I'm pretty sure there's a certain amount of times that you can click it like before it saves. So if you just draw a lot and then you do undo, I'm going to do the shortcut key, which is Command Z. See, no matter how many times I click it, it just goes back and back, but there's a certain amount, there's a limit. I'm not sure how many actions it saves into its memory before you run out of undos. And then if you undo something by mistake and you don't want to redraw it, you can just go to the redo button, which is up here. You can find, like I said, they both have shortcut keys, but you can find them up here on the Edit tab, Undo and Redo. so you can memorize those keys so that you don't have to go up here every single time you have to undo something. Snaps, I talked about that in a different video. FireAlpaca, when you first download it, I think all the tools are here by default, but if you want to move it, you see these three buttons, these three little circles right here. You just click on that, you drag it up here. This is where I like to keep it because I like a bigger workspace. I'm pretty sure you can drag it over here too. Come on, there we go. So you can drag it over here if that's better for you. Alright, that is the end of this video. It was very long. I hope a lot of you stuck through it because it was a lot to take in. I know digital art's hard to get into, it's really scary. It took me forever to get into digital art, but the thing was, I didn't really have these tutorials, especially for the art programs that I was using. This is not as big as Paint Tool Sci. All of the tutorials you see on YouTube are usually for Paint Tool Sci, so that's why I'm providing them for FireAlpaca. Hopefully it's actually worth the effort because, you know, it's a really great program and it's absolutely free, and now you have a lot of videos for it. Thank you so much for watching. I do tutorials every single Tuesday and speed paints every single Saturday, so if you don't want to miss a video, you can go ahead and subscribe. It really means a lot. And yeah, comments and likes are very good too for me. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Bye!